I was in the middle of a big project, but I needed to buy some material that cost money, so I had to do this other project to pay for that material. This project is sponsored in part by Bent Rod Fly Fishing Adventures. Explore the rivers of Northern California and learn about fly fishing. My name is Jesse, and I found this. I got this old wardrobe armoire cabinet for free in San Jose. It's about 6 feet tall. First thing I tried to do is remove this little decorative piece from the side, but the screw was stripped. I tried a Phillips bit, I tried a square bit, and then I tried the needle nose pliers. I got a couple turns in, but then it also has finishing nails. This thing is really attached. Next I had to cut some really straight lines, but that's difficult to do because my head is crooked. I used scrap wood and clamps to set up a track for this straight cut. I thought this cabinet would look better if it was a little shorter than me. Hey look, I'm actually flipping furniture. This old friend of mine from Santa Clara gave me this circular saw, Chris Gearhart. He gave me this thing 22 years ago. He was getting a new one, so he said I could have this old one, and I've just been using it ever since, for 22 years. This can of paint stripper was almost empty, so I finished it out, but this cabinet must have had the world's strongest primer. I tried using a paint scraper, but it didn't do a great job, so I just tried harder, and eventually that just started smearing the paint around. I tried the red can, I tried the blue can. They both couldn't lift it. I spent the entire day failing at getting the paint off of this cabinet. At this point, it felt like I ruined garbage. How do you even do that? So I tried to see what the orbital sander could do, and it did a lot better. And this took several hours. And then I had to go over everything a second time just to clean out some more of that paint from the wood grain. The edges were solid wood, so I just needed to be a little careful when scraping. And it'll be easy to shape them with the sander. I did the whole scraping and smearing paint on the doors. I wanted to knock out this little metal hole thing before I sanded the doors. So again, the orbital sander had to carry the load, and also I had to go over everything twice to get that paint out. Getting paint out of these little grooves really sucks. The top corner had a little bit of damage, but I just put some wood glue and sawdust in there. This is gray stain. I've never used gray stain before, and I wasn't sure what it would look like when it was done. And I absolutely loved it. It just came out perfect. Here's a little before and after. That one piece came out a little lighter, but that's okay. And then I had to sand down all the sawdust and wood glue that I piled up. I found a plastic bag full of old Norton sandpaper. The wood glue and sawdust technique left some pores, but that's okay. I'm just going to stain over it and then cover it polyurethane. So right now it's the same day, and the wood stain is still working perfect. It's looking exactly how I want it. I got this bed frame from a lady in San Jose. She apologized for not having the instructions to reassemble the bed, but I told her I just needed it for the scrap wood. I'm going to try to use these 3x3 pieces to make some cool looking legs. I've never done this before, so let's give it a shot. I don't know what kind of wood this is, and it also had a bunch of peg holes all over it, so I'll just do my best to make it work. I actually got this table saw for free from a guy in Sunnyvale. He was just giving it away for free. I showed up to get it. He goes, "I have a cough, I can't help you load it." So I ended up breaking a little piece of it, but that's okay. I really do like this table saw. I had to make all these measurements and marks on all the legs and then just freehand cut them on this table saw. I think normally you would use a bandsaw, but I don't have one of those. You just need to be really careful to avoid the blade, because when it's spinning, those teeth are super fast and somewhat invisible. I cut off these little triangles from the legs, the tops and the bottoms, and sometimes that little piece would shoot through that little slot super hard, or it would just get jammed in between the blade and that slot. Times like these made me think about when I was an assistant coach for my old college soccer team. There was this opposing coach. During a game, he just started saying, "Gosh, it would be nice if you knew what you were doing." It was so bizarre because he was saying it while looking straight at the field, but you could tell he was saying it to us. He just kept repeating it until we acknowledged it. And also, it's just insanely rude. Like, I've never heard another coach talk like that before. But probably the weirdest thing was that he wasn't even winning. His team was not that great. Sure, it would have been really great if we knew what we were doing, but we were still able to have successful seasons, even though we were limited in our knowledge and experience. So I can do what I can to try to make some cool looking legs for an armoire. And it's all okay. I mean, as long as I don't cut off my fingertips or something on this table saw. And now I have to cut a pretty big notch out of the top side of this leg. The first one was difficult, and then the other three were also difficult. Because I didn't cut enough of these little lines. They would have made it a bit easier to do this. With that belt on the table saw is jiggling a lot. And you can kind of see this thread that's coming loose. It's right here in this corner. I had to go get Mario to help me clean these cuts up. But first I gotta sharpen this chisel, because I didn't do it last time. Then I rounded the legs with the belt sander and just aggressively shot sawdust into my own eyes for an hour. The sander created this heat-seeking cyclone of sawdust. I might have permanent damage. And then of course the orbital sander has to clean up these legs. So I just really wanted to have some diagonal lines on this thing. Like, I envisioned this low-key rock star living in the city, putting this thing in their apartment so they can store all their denim and leather jackets. It is pretty satisfying to reveal these clean lines by removing this tape. So I just wanted to get the curves extra smooth by hand sanding these legs. By now it's been a couple days since I last used the gray stain, so I thought I needed to shake the can real good. But then it just got really thick. And I couldn't wipe it in the same way either, it just came out all wrong. I didn't know what caused this problem, so I shook the can some more and tried it on another leg, off camera. So I ended up with this thick gray stain on 2 legs, and so I had to hand sand those down to raw wood and try something else. Have you ever seen someone mix stains before? I've never seen it, but I thought I'd try it, see what happens. I think what happened was this can of gray stain sat on the shelf at the store for a long time, to the point where it separated, so this thin substance was at the top of the can, and that's what I used when I stained the rest of this cabinet. And I make this mistake on another project later. I think this looks fine. And now I'm using a water-based polyurethane. I like the satin finish. I end up attaching these legs with 4 screws, 2 on the interior and then 2 more underneath like this. I like the original finish on the interior, so I'm just going to spray it down and scrub it really good and then vacuum it up. Watch me easily give up on trying to clean off that one spot. The door tracks had a lot of crud stuck in them, so I used this key I found to bust out some of that nonsense. And then of course I had to vacuum all that up. And I just used some spray paint to clean up these metal circle things. Those diagonal lines look good, the stain looks great, and those legs look pretty cool. I ended up selling it for $200 to a guy who just put it in his garage. I think it came out pretty modern looking. Let me know in the comments if you think it was worth more than $200. Thanks for watching.